breathing heavily into my ear and kissing my ear and my neck. I mean, to this day, when I think about it, my skin just crawls. He was way bigger than me, and it was just horrible until one day, as they say, one day now one day. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys have been good. So today I'm going to be doing a quick video about, I'm sure you know from the heading what we're going to be talking about, but it's a get ready with me video because I'm going out today with the kids, and I just thought to do this video on this topic, which is a little bit sensitive. The reason why I say it's sensitive is because of my own personal experience and personal journey with molestation as a child. And I'll also be sharing my experience on what happened to me, and the fact that it's still quite difficult for me to talk about it. But you know what they say about speaking up, sorrow's okay. You basically empower yourself and you stand as one more voice, which is speaking out and against anything to do with sexual molestation against children. Okay, so I've already moisturized and I'm just going to put a bit of primer. So I'm just going to be priming my face with the LA Girl Pro primer. So where do I start on my own experience with this? Okay, it happens every day, you know, and that's the worrying thing about it. It happens every day. It happens worldwide. There is a solution, and we'll talk about the solution in a minute. But let me tell you about my experience. Now, a lot of women around me have reported being molested, sometimes by relatives, sometimes by family friends, sometimes by family members. And it is just so heartbreaking. I think what's heartbreaking is the amount of people that have actually suffered this molestation at such young ages. You know, a lot of the times, because of the way the society has been configured, it's configured to make sure victims keep quiet, victims don't sorrow soke, as they say, which basically gives even more room for this thing to keep happening whilst being swept under the carpet. So I'm just going to be defining my eyebrows with my eyebrow pencil. This is just basically a very popular eyebrow pencil. I got it in Lagos. It's just literally in any shop. So I'm using a dark brown to just define my eyebrows. I had several experiences. The one I'm going to talk about is what happened to me when I was 14 years old. So I was in secondary school at the time, and my mom was out of the country. So my dad decided that I and my sisters should go and spend some time with my uncle. Now, my uncle wasn't blood relative. So he basically was a family friend, you know, and he had been a family friend for a long time, and spend the holiday with him and his family. So we went there, and we were having a nice time. You know, he had 3 kids, so we're having a nice time. We were all older, so you know, we'd take turns in looking after them. My older sister would cook sometimes, and you know, it was just like one big happy family, or so I thought. So I've got 2 concealers here. I'm going to be concealing with the LA Girl Pro concealers. I've got 2 shades here. So I'm going to be using the lighter shade for the bottom of my brows, and I'm going to be using the darker shade for the top of my brows. And this is my old brush. I'm just using my hard angled brush to do that. So we've been there for, I would say, maybe a week, and one day there was now a power cut. The power went out in the house, which is quite normal in Nigeria. So the whole house was just thrown in darkness and all of that. So now the power cut wasn't like your regular power cut. It was restricted to just his house. It was like a phase sort of power cut. So he said to me, I should meet him. I should come to the fuse box with him so he can rectify it, and I should come with the torchlight. So I'll hold the torchlight while he uh, fiddles with the fuse box, right? Hey, my people, it just wasn't the fuse box that he ended up fiddling with. So I went there and I had the torchlight with me and I was um, holding it up so he could see what he was doing. And before I knew, and remember now, it's literally like everywhere's just dark. And then my uncle suddenly pounced on me and was whispering frantically. It was like there was some sort of sense of urgency, frantically whispering in my ear, he likes me, he's always liked me, and I should come to his bedroom at 12 midnight. Now, his wife wasn't around. She was also outside of the country. She was living, I think they were having like marital issues. Obviously, I was too young to start dibbling or asking questions, but I know she hadn't been living with them for some time. And he was just, all over me, and it was like a split second, but in that split second, I felt so violated and I jumped out of his arms and he grabbed on. I mean, this man was big. It was just horrible. It was such a horrible, dirty feeling. Immediately crept into me, and I remember just wiggling free out of his hands and running into the house, and I bumped into my sister as I ran into the house, and she said to me, "What's wrong? Why are you running?" Now that's where that fear comes from, because most of the times the reason why people keep quiet is, one, they feel like they would not be believed if they said it, because this was my dad's friend. And mind you, my dad was in the army, right? So you would think that you wouldn't really mess with someone, army brats, for instance. No. These pedophiles have a way of infiltrating. They're like mosquitoes. You close your doors, you close your windows. Somehow, mosquitoes find their way somehow. I mean, you always just have to be extra vigilant. But when you just leave that one gap, you find that they are right in your house and you're trying to kill them off. Now, the reason why I used them as an illustration to mosquitoes is the fact that they look for every little opportunity to come into your home, and the havoc they wreak and leave behind is phenomenal. When one is molested, right? As I said earlier, the society configures the victims to sort of keep quiet. There's a stigmatization that happens, and that shame as well that happens. And this goes to empower that abuser to continue, because these things are sort of like swept under the carpet. On the other hand, this has a massive effect on children's mental health. Having that heavy weight on a child's mind has the ability to bend your mind to the point where you might not develop as smoothly as you were supposed to. It's just too much. Okay, so I'm done with my brows. I'm just going to put on my foundation. I'm using the True Match L'Oreal foundation. So anyway, back to the story. That's how I was now scared. I didn't want to say anything. It's not like he threatened me or anything, but I was just scared to speak out on the issue, because I didn't know what my dad would say. I didn't know what my sisters would say. I didn't think they would believe me at the time. So I kept quiet. Now, that day marks the beginning of this man harassing me, right? So if he sees me in the hallway, or in the kitchen, he would try to touch me or say something really, really raw. I called my dad. Then there was no mobile phones. It's not like I'm old though. Before you think that is in the 40s. This was when 090 was reigning in Nigeria. So I would call my dad from his landline, from my uncle's landline, and say, "Daddy, please, I want to come back home. I'm tired of being here. I'm not having a good time." And my dad kept asking, why, what's wrong? I couldn't say anything until one day, as they say, one day, now one day, I now just sort of started avoiding him. But it's a bit hard to avoid someone in his own home. So One day he took us out, me and my sisters, and now I'm going to conceal with my Elegel Pro in Warm Honey. I'm just going to conceal under my eyes a little. Now we went to this ice cream place and he, got us ice cream. We had popcorn and everybody was just generally having a nice time. Now I'm doing like a nudish makeup. So I'm using my Essence palette, Good Day Sydney. So I'm just going to be using a very neutral color here as my transition color. In the shock of the revelation of what he did, I also told them, what he did, and they were so angry at me for not saying anything. And so we got on the phone, called dad that we needed to go immediately. We started packing up our stuff. When he came home, he knew that something had happened. So it was so awkward, and I just remember being so angry, it's like the shame and the anger I felt the past week, 10 days when he did mine to me, all came flooding back. And that's how we left, right? So you think the story ends when you leave. You think the story ends when you actually physically remove yourself from that person that molested you. Unfortunately, no. That stayed with me for many years to come. You start feeling like you're not worthy. You start feeling because it is so demeaning. It's you feel dirty, right? And there's nothing you can do to sort of shake that feeling away. So I'm going to be using, that's the gold I used. I'm going to be using a darker purple just to give that smoky look effect. So I'd earlier said that there was some sort of solution. So, what can we do as parents? What can we do as citizens? What can we do to stand together as one? It's not always about government doing this, It's just to be extra vigilant, is to be extra vigilant. And where you can make sacrifices as a parent to spend more time with your kids, by all means, explore that possibility. I remember when my second child turned 1, I went out and I got a camera. And I remember a couple of friends that I told at the time were laughing at me that I'm too much. Yes, is it not better that I'm too much? Is it not better? So it's better that you are too much, as they say, and you know that you are putting all sorts of measure to reduce the possibility of this thing happening in your home. Even maids, even the help these days are becoming abusive to children. I think 2 years ago when there was that drama about Busola Dakolo and the pastor, my ex-colleague reached out to me, and it's a guy, and he said to me that he had been suffering abuse from his housemaid since he was 5 years old. Can you imagine that? Also, we need to be our children's friends. We need to let them know that they need to come to you and tell you anything that happens with them. You need to reassure the young minds that they're not going to get into trouble, because they feel they get into trouble again. They're dealing with threats from their assaulter saying, I will do this to you or I will do that to you. So they need to know they have a safe haven to come to. Okay, so it's time for my eyeliner. I'm going to be using the Rimmel Exaggerate eyeliner. My daughter did a life skill once, a life skill which says a child should have 5 people that they can speak to if anything happens with them. So I was doing this exercise with my daughter, and she started to name the 5 people that she was comfortable with. And she stopped at 3 because there were not up to 5 people that she actually trusted enough to come and say anything, because the exercise was about not keeping secrets from your parents. You should be able to speak to your parents about anything that goes on with you. I had to work with her for us to get to number 5, to be able to name 5 people that she could confidently come to and speak to if there's anything. A lot of the times in my generation, my parents were too embarrassed, or, I don't know what happened, but they didn't really warn us, or educate or inform us that they were actually pedophiles, or people who want to take advantage of us kids. So for us parents, we just need to make sure we take time out to empower our kids, to make sure that they have us, they have a safe haven in us. They trust us enough to tell us anything that is going with them. We should also let them understand that no secret is ever acceptable to keep within the home. I'm just going to contour now. I'm going to be using the darkest shade from my classic palette. I'm going to set that with my setting powder. I'm using the Sasha Buttercup powder. I'm going to be setting that. So we need to just, make sure our kids know that they have a safe haven in mom and dad. We should just make sure we are vigilant. If there are any measures you need to put in your house to ensure that you are vigilant, please do so without anybody opening their mouths to say you're too much. So my solution to this is to make sure we work on our kids to the point where these children know without any doubt that they can come to us. So I'm just going to leave that for a few minutes and I'm going to pop my lashes on. What is your lashes me? Okay, so I'm going to dust off this powder off my face. I'm just going to use my foundation brush to brush it off my face. Ooh, it's making up, it's not usual. Okay, so it's time for eyeliner. The issue is a child is being molested and a child is in a very dangerous space that has the ricocheting effect of affecting his or her future. The Convention on the Rights of the Child always speaks and advocates for children to be treated, or for decisions for children to be made in a way that it has the best interest of the child. It's always all about the best interest of the child, because remember, children are growing, and in that growing up they need to grow up in an environment that is nurturing and an environment that is safe for their full development and the full capacity and capabilities of their growth. So it is so important that we empower our children, because they are the ones who these pedophiles are victimizing. We need to empower them, and we need to make sure that as adults we equip ourselves with the right information, the right knowledge, so we know exactly how to, in our little way, eradicate this madness from our society. Now, wow, the thing is even getting me angry now as I speak. I'm getting a little bit emotional and a little bit angry. So I'm moving on now to my lips. So I've got an old banged up lip liner from Tara, which I'm going to be using. I've got this red lipstick that I really like. So it's the moisturizing lipstick from Ever Beauty. And I'm just going to pop that just along the line of my, right there, because I've got a little trick I want to do. Okay, now I've got an orange tinge lipstick. Let me bring it, and I want to put it inside. Wait, make I bring it. Let me bring it. This is an NK orange lipstick. I'm going to be popping that right here, just in the inner corners of my lips. I love it, just sort of creates like a gradient in your lips. I love the way orange just gives you that very warm summer look on your cheeks. A bit of blue eyeshadow here just to finish that look. And so I'm done. I just need to get my jewelry on, but I'm done. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to please give it a like and consider subscribing. And I hope we're able to act in accordance to the powers that we have as individuals to put a stop to this nightmare that keeps popping its ugly head in our society. And please give it a like, because it really helps the video to get shown and seen by other people. Don't forget to share it with your friends, and until I come your way again, it's FA signing out.